Okay, here we are with Dustin Burr from Wilwood Engineering, Wilwood Brakes. I don't know, everybody calls it Wilwood Brakes, I guess. We've got some great brake kits here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on?
We'll start with the smallest one and move up. This is our new drag race kit. This is something you put on the back of a drag race only car, something that lives its life on the trailer and accumulates miles a quarter of a mile at a time. This is a stainless steel 3/8 thick rotor. And the unique thing here is the way the hat attaches to the rotor. You notice that there's no bolts going from the rotor into the hat. There's just slots in the hat. The rotor slips into that, and then it's held in place by this little circle clip.
Which is such a great idea.
Well, it allows the rotor to expand and contract at a different rate than the aluminum hat. And since they're two different metals, they're going to expand and contract at different rates with the heat cycling that goes on as you use the brakes. So this really preserves the integrity of the hat and allows the stainless steel rotors to move as they need to.
And then we were actually talking a little bit earlier, this snap ring that you have that holds these pieces together, it being sort of locked in on the inside.
Right.
As this wheel spins, you're saying the centrifugal force will pull that snap and basically tightens it and makes it more secure as it's spinning.
There's a little groove.
Great idea.
There's a little groove in the rotor that it slips into, just like a piston ring slips around the outside of a piston, except this one's on the inside, and as the wheels spin and centrifugal force picks up, you're right, it literally expands that ring and fits tighter and tighter the faster you go.
So why wouldn't you take this and apply it to street applications as well?
We might apply it to street applications as well. The main factor is cost. We've got a lot of time and effort put into doing things the traditional way with two-piece rotor hat assembly that bolts together. This would be a massive rework of just about all our hats to accomplish that. Not to mention it
on the
only
manufacturing
works,
side. I mean, you basically you've got the R&D done, right?
Right, and it's not something that we won't apply, but it's something that'll be slow to apply to other places. The other thing is it really works best with a deeper offset hat. You can see that hat's nearly 2 inches deep.
Yeah.
Whereas this hat that would go on like a late model car is barely 3/4 of an inch deep. So you don't have a lot of room built in there for that. So that's the main hitch in the giddy up right now.
And because this is a drag race setup, this is just a solid disc. There's no venting or any of that. You don't need
it. Exactly. It's made to stop hard one time and then circle back to the pits.
And this is a rear brake setup right here.
Right, rear brake setup with my Dynapro 6-piston caliper.
What do you use for the front? Is it similar?
It depends on the type of drag car. The rear engine dragsters use no front brakes at all. If we're talking about kind of a door slammer car, a lot of times they'll have something very similar on the front with maybe a smaller 4-piston caliper in it.
If you had sort of a street strip, let's say you had like a crazy pro street car, would you run these on the street a little bit or no?
You can get away with them on the street a little bit, but what you're going to run into is you're going to put a lot of heat into that rotor just going stop sign to stop sign.
Right.
Traffic's in your way. You're going to build a lot more heat into that rotor than it was really designed to take, and ultimately you'll heat cycle the rotor enough that it'll warp and you'll be replacing rotors regularly.
So if you're going to drive to a car show, maybe, but other than that,
you
don't
really
want to
should avoid it.
So the next step is this daddy right here. This looks like another rear brake.
Right, now this is a rear brake. This is our internal drum parking brake kit. It's got a small drum brake that fits inside the hat of the rotor, and if we turn it around, you can kind of see the levers back here that manually actuate it. So that's a small drum brake that functions as a parking brake inside the hat of the rotor.
Yeah.
And then an external caliper that does the stopping.
And this is more common than people think. A lot of cars and trucks, a lot of trucks actually, the SUVs and stuff, have the drum brake inside, and that acts as a parking brake, I mean, or two parking brakes.
Corvettes started doing it in the early 60s. Ford Explorers had them, since the Explorer came out. Mm-hmm. It's just a really good functioning way to accomplish a parking brake.
Yeah.
And then this is our floating D154 caliper. You'll notice that it's mounted on slide pins that allows the caliper to float in and out with any axle movement that may be occurring.
We were talking about, if you're just watching the video, you haven't watched and listened to the podcast, we were talking about these in the studio, and we love the little arrow that points you, shows you the direction of the rotors that are on there. Because I was asking, it's like, how do you put them on there? Is it sort of like a water wheel of some sort? Well, now we've got a little arrow to show you how to do it.
And things like that are for consumer convenience, but before we did that, you would be amazed at how many phone calls we would get. A guy would go, I just bought my brake kit, how's this go together?
Yeah.
You know, so
do you have some statistic that says this arrow reduced phone calls by 15%?
I think we might have at the time, but we've lost track since then.
All right, so now we're stepping up. This is big. Now it looks bigger, but honestly, when I pick this up, the heaviest thing I'm lifting right now is the crazy stand that you guys
Right, the base is nearly the heaviest part of that. This is a two-piece rotor hat assembly. The hat's made out of aluminum, and the rotor is cast iron. This is 1.25 inches thick, 14 inches in diameter. And this is the kind of kit we put together for late model performance cars, Corvettes, Camaros, Mustangs. This would be suitable for that, and also for high-end road race cars. And on top of that is our newest 6-piston forged caliper. It's our Superlight line. Superlight Calipers is a line we've had for 30-ish years now, and this is the latest design. It's made from a forging rather than a billet machined caliper, which just really reduces a lot of waste and allows us to make the caliper stronger. Because as you forge a chunk of aluminum into the right shape, you realign the grain structure of the aluminum, and that, now that it's aligned in the shape of the caliper, it actually makes the caliper stronger.
And then this is a caliper that you've had out before, but this is a new finish.
Right, this is a brand new finish. This is on our W4A and W6A line of calipers. This is our nickel finish. This is something I mentioned during the podcast that we started putting brakes on all of the Shelby GT350s and Super Snakes, and this is something Shelby requested of us. They said, we love your calipers, we love the whole setup, but we'd really like a nickel finish behind that wheel.
I like the finish. So is this an actual nickel finish? Or
It's
is this
an actual,
some sort of
it's an
powder
actual
coat to made to look like
No,
that?
it's an actual nickel finish. And we tried a bunch of different powder coating that would be close in color, and just nothing really got it right.
Right.
So we actually take these and have them put in a nickel bath, and it's really has an added performance benefit. Inside the caliper, you've got a piston, and that piston, of course, has a bore that it slips into. And normally, we anodize the bores to protect them from the piston, prevent scuffing. The nickel plating is actually a better coating for the inside of that bore to reduce scuffing and preserve the movement of the piston.
So now, do you clean these a special way? You don't want to spray anything on these things other than soap, right?
Just hot soapy water is fine.
Stay away from the sprays for now.
Even so far, we haven't seen anything strip the finish off the nickel caliper, but the way they're finished, they clean up pretty easily, and a little hot soapy water when you're washing the car generally gets the job done.
Okay, so let's grab these as well, because I don't know that a lot of people know that you make this kind of stuff, but you have a huge catalog of parts, and for the racing guys or hot rod guys or anybody that's building kind of something special, this is your...
This is our dual pedal assembly. It fits 3 master cylinders, 2 for the brakes, 1 for the front brakes, 1 for the rear brakes, and the other one for the clutch. So, and the way you mount this is up in the dash of the car. It mounts the master cylinders pointing back towards you as the driver, so it's all hidden up under the dash, which is really important to street rod builders. You want to hide everything,
and
it's really
important.
Not
in the engine compartment.
And it's really important to race guys, because the engine and headers generally take up every ounce of room in the front of a car.
And probably generate a lot more heat.
It keeps it out of the heat, keeps it out of the engine bay, and these are made with forged lever arms, so they're really strong, really lightweight, and then the adjustable foot pedals, so you can kind of tailor it to your pedal box. Like Shelby Cobras, your feet are literally out towards the door from where the steering wheel is when you sit in one of them, so you can move the pedals over so that they're more in line with where your feet are naturally in the car. And we have a whole catalog of stuff like this.
Incredible machine work and finish work on this stuff. It's really, really nice stuff.
Well, thank you. We have about 26 CNC machines in our manufacturing facility and about 8 CNC machines in our R&D lab. I like to say, and I think it's also true, that we have more CNC machines in our R&D lab than a lot of companies have in their manufacturing area.
Now, there's actually a funny statistic that we were talking about. All of this stuff is so much machined aluminum that everything that's CNC machine starts as big blocks of aluminum. How much aluminum do you guys go through?
We recycle 30 tons of aluminum every month.
That's what you recycle.
That's what we recycle.
All of the stuff that's cut off.
Everything that's cut off. And keep in mind, we do a lot of things out of a forging, so we're not even starting with a billet. We're starting with a body, a caliper body forging that's already close to the right shape. And we still managed to carve out 30 tons of aluminum, which, if you're wondering, is about 570 engine blocks or 2 million beer cans, which is enough beer cans to put a beer in the hand of every resident of Houston, Texas.
You've probably done that.
And we do that a month. And we do that every month.
All right, so, and now we got your car.
Yes.
We've got, what year is your car?
This is an 02 Corvette Z06. I've had it for about 2.5 years now. And I think it's just by far the best bang for the buck in terms of a performance car these days. I mean, this is a 10-year-old car. It had 30,000 miles on it when I bought it, and I picked it up for under 22 grand.
See, that's a lot of car for the money. Get a used vet for 22 grand. And the Z06 is a really badass car.
Right. I mean, it's 405 horsepower. It's really what you're limited by is cops, traffic, and street lights. I mean, those are the main limiting factors in the performance of the car.
This year's Z06, this had, I'm not a big, I'm not an encyclopedia for Corvette guys. This is the LS6 engine?
Yes. Right.
Okay.
This is LS6 engine.
And they were like 400 something horsepower.
405.
405.
Yeah, 405.
Have you done anything to it?
Number one, the factory Goodyear tires that came on it are terrible.
Okay.
They're noisy. They don't stick very well.
Those are the run flats.
They aren't the run flats on the Z06. On the Z06, they actually give you they don't give you a compressor or a spare tire because there's no room for one. They give you a little bottle of that thick gooey stuff that you squirt into the tire to inflate it.
Fix a flat.
Basically fix a flat, which sells for a ridiculous price on eBay, by the way, leftover ones from these cars. But in any case, it needed better tires, so I've got a set of the Falcon Azenis 615 tires on it. They're really sticky. They're pretty, the wear rate on them is pretty good, and they're surprisingly quiet compared to the Goodyear tires. So that was thing number one. Number two, I wanted to upgrade the brakes on it, so we went to a set of Wilwood brakes for it.
Good choice.
It's my W6A calipers. I know a guy on the inside.
Did you get a discount?
Yeah, I know a guy on the inside, so that worked out. And the third thing it really needs is a better driver. One of the first things you find out when you start driving a real performance car is the car might be a whole lot better car than you are driver. And so I'm in the process of that. I've done some track days and received some instruction in learning to be a better driver. And I'm still far from good, but everybody goes, well, don't you want to make the car faster? The number one thing that would make it faster is if I was a better driver.
Just a better driver. I've done a few of those as well, the track days, the school, and I think the instructor told me most was, you were not listening to me.
Right.
So we'll see how that goes. Let's open the hood and let's take a look. You said it was stock, but let's peek under there anyway.
The LS1 is really the first revision of the LS motors that GM brought out in '97. And the big difference is in cylinder head and intake design. And then, of course, for the Corvettes, they got a bigger camshaft in them to make a little more horsepower.
Why don't you fire it up? Let's listen to it.
All right. That's one of the things I love about this car. It's bone stock, it idles softly, quietly, nicely, and when you get on it, it still sounds pretty manly, and it goes like a bat out of hell.
Yeah.
And frankly, without the traction control on it, it'd be virtually undrivable. When you hit the throttle, the car wants to go sideways.
Yeah.
It's like having your own personal roller coaster. If you get an on-ramp that's got a nice, long wraparound and there's nobody in front of you, it's one of the best ways to end the workday, I'll tell you that.
All right, let's hear it one more time. All right, listen, Dustin, I appreciate you coming down. It's been fun educating us on brakes.
Thanks for having me. It's been a lot of fun. It's a great show to do, and I'm glad to be back anytime.
Why don't you share the website one more time with us?
You can find us at www.wilwood.com.